Well, let me tell you something, brother.
These videos are satiric reviews. You don't have to agree, but don't bitch about it.
I hate this channel.
Hey there, I'm Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso. And recently I put out a video called Hulk Hogan Steals Macho Man's Thunder. Now this was a video which depicted, I think, about 6 times in which Macho Man won a world championship, where Hogan made it about him, or booking made it about Hogan. And this is a very factual thing. This did happen. And if you don't believe my video for one reason or another, even though I'm literally describing what is happening in the video, and there's plenty of footage to verify that as I'm narrating, if you for whatever reason don't believe me, feel free to look it up on the internet anywhere. It's factual. It happened. This video, I haven't even made this video yet, and I can tell you that this is by far my favorite fan mail video of all time. Because with me saying one negative thing about everyone's favorite superhero, y'all lost your goddamn minds. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of these very intelligent comments. Okay, moron who posted this video, you claimed in the paragraph not to bitch about it. If you don't agree with your views, well guess what, jackass who lets their ass overload their mouths and report weekly world fake news reporting? If you're going to post a moronic, idiotic, stupid, tasteless joke of a post, you're gonna have to deal with the bitching. This myth that Hogan abused his power is all ludicrous BS. It was the writers, it was Vince McMahon himself, it was the promoters, he was the moneymaker. So all you Hogan haters out there, shut your mouth and get a clue before y'all let your asses overload your mouth. Now, let's pretend that Jesse here made a point. It's completely invalid due to his inability to put periods and randomly capitalizing letters throughout. I don't. What are you doing here, man? And yes, I get it. I'm very well aware that Hulk Hogan didn't book himself. However, if you listen to anybody who shared a locker room with Hulk Hogan, and that includes the officials who have worked with him, he did most certainly use his power. Now, you can argue whether that was for good purposes or bad purposes, but that is something he did do. I'm not making that up, and it's completely asinine, very well-known fact. Dude, we get you, a Hogan hater. By the way, you called people who like Hogan marks, but yet, guess who the biggest marks? Hogan haters. Don't be mad because your heroes ain't nothing. Hogan is the man. Take up the ass mark, bye bitch. Now, let's pretend that George here made a point. I'm sorry, there's no way that this is not the last person. Like, I mean, the spelling is the same, the run-on sentences are the same. This is the same person with an alternate account. I think we could all agree with that. And if not, then we need better education systems. Like, way better. And yes, I called you guys marks. And it wasn't because I'm a Hogan hater. It wasn't because, oh, you don't like Hogan. I don't like Hulk Hogan. The wrestler. Never really cared for his work. I wasn't a huge Hulkamaniac. I didn't buy any Hulk Hogan gear. I didn't understand everyone's interest in him. He wasn't for me. That's the beginning and end of it. I'm not a Hogan hater. I wasn't a Hogan fan. But yet my opinion, me, a nobody on the internet, the fact that I have a different opinion on the guy than you is like a cause for World War III. And I ain't talking about the WCW pay-per-view. If you get so highly offended so easily over a difference of opinion in wrestling, then yeah, I'm gonna call you a fucking mark. I'm sorry. That's childish. And you're stupid. And ugly, and your mother dresses you funny. I'm the bigger man here. I won that one. Another Hogan bash video. Just put it in the pile with the rest. Oh, look. Another stupid comment. Right here in the pile with the rest. Give Jimmy Spangler a call, then try to keep crying. Don't know who that is. Looked it up, still couldn't figure it out. No idea who that is. Your comment is relevant, and quite frankly, I wasted time researching it. The Infuso is either confused about dates, was sitting on this vid, or is actually operating from the future. He said he put this video out in 2020. Congratulations on being the singular comment in this video that is not somebody whining over Hulk Hogan, but instead actually somebody pointing out an inaccuracy. Yes, I did put this video out in 2019. However, it was originally scheduled for 2020. Instead, I released it early because I figured that it would, gain a little bit more revenue. And also, I don't operate from the future. I operate on a planet that clearly hasn't been discovered yet, and quite frankly, I prefer to keep it that way. I see how you humans live your lives, and I want no part of that. This guy doesn't know much. First at WrestleMania 8, Hogan went up last so the show could end with the Ultimate Warrior closing the show. Go back and look at the ending of the match, and the crowd went home on an upbeat, and that was the goal at every WrestleMania back in the day. And dude, you might be a young guy and don't remember how big Hogan was in the WWF. He made it cool to watch wrestling. And don't forget that Vince was getting every dollar out of the Hogan gimmick. What does that have to do with anything? It's the strangest thing with these comments. Like, everyone dives in and starts like, how dare you attack Hogan? I didn't attack Hogan. I stated a fact. Every one of Macho Man's title victories was overshadowed by Hulk Hogan, whether that be intentional or not. It's just something that happened. I also made a video on how Shawn Michaels didn't like to drop titles. Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler. I'm unbiased. VTard is the perfect name for this channel. This guy's facts are way off. He must be a Democrat. Yes, that is a very, very sound-minded comment coming from a sound-minded person. Love Trump is the perfect name for your channel because you're a politically obsessed asshole. I love shit like this because I get this all the time now on videos that have nothing to do with anything, right? I'm talking about Hulk Hogan overshadowing Macho Man, and the first thing somebody goes, oh, this guy's a Democrat. This guy's a Democrat. I'm telling you, I can sniff him out. Like it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Shawn Michaels video. I made the Shawn Michaels video. I talked about how Shawn didn't like dropping titles, and then people started accusing me of being a white apologist. Yes, guys, you caught me. I made that video because I don't like Shawn Michaels, and I don't like him because he's white. Sorry, these white men are dangerous, and I just don't think we can trust them. Just name the vid I hate Hulk Hogan, because he's also plain and simply the greatest of all time. I'm sure Michael Jordan has an ego and is full of himself. Bow down to greatness. I love Randy Savage, but he's Scottie Pippen. Where do you even begin? Where do you even begin? You know what? You don't. I'm just gonna move right past that. I think it speaks for itself. Oh boy, this guy wrote a novel. Here we go. All of you want to point the finger at only Hogan for everything. Hogan doesn't beat the Iron Sheik in '84 without Vince McMahon's approval. He doesn't hold the belt for 4 years without Vince. He doesn't beat Macho without, you guessed it, Vince McMahon. He doesn't main event all but one WrestleMania 1 through 8. Now on to WCW. Hogan doesn't win all his titles, main events, almost every pay-per-view, and also doesn't lose clean until he loses to Piper as Hollywood Hogan without Eric Bischoff. He doesn't come back to the WWE and eventually wins his last world title without a Vince again. So if y'all want to blame someone, blame the owner of the asylum for letting their inmate run it, and stop your bitching. If any other wrestler besides Stone Cold, The Rock, and John Cena put asses in seats or drew the money or ratings, then his ego wouldn't be what it is. Okay, you made a valid point. Hogan was not the booker. Was he delusional and over the top with his ego? Yes, of course, he still is. But of course, all of that was spurred on by his constant booking and putting him as the guy. Being number one, being better than an entire roster of people. That's a great point. That has nothing to do with the video that was being made. I was talking about how Macho's title wins always became secondary to what was going on with Hulkamania at the time. That's the whole video. Beginning, middle, end. That is the whole video. That is all it's about. I never said, oh, this is Hulk Hogan's fault. This is Hulk Hogan's fault. No, I just stated that this was a thing that happened. And yes, some of the time, it had to do with Hogan politicking his way into it. Sure, plenty of the other times, I'm sure that he was just given it because he's Hulk Hogan. I just don't understand people who are white knighting for one of the greatest of all time, as if his reputation doesn't speak for itself. Me reflecting on something that happened in this person's career, whether positive or negative, is not a cause for alarm. It's not an open invitation for everybody to start asserting their opinion and being like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I wasn't attacking Hulk Hogan. Once again, oh, I forgot my last comment. If y'all want to bitch about someone's ego, why don't you make a video on Bret Hart, who is 10 times worse than Hogan? That is very arguable. He actually believed in his ego so much that he thought he won the WWF title by beating the other wrestlers for real. Not true. In an industry where everything is predetermined, and he also was so full of himself, he couldn't lose the world title in Canada because it could kill his legacy. When Hogan did just that at WrestleMania 6, and yet these days, he gets his biggest crowd pops in Canada. Or what about Shawn Michaels, who other than losing his title just once clean to Austin, because if not, The Undertaker was gonna beat his ass. Yeah, David, I made that video literally the beginning of the week. That video was the one that came out right before this one. You're complaining about me not making a video that I already made. Maybe take your comment back to the drawing board, try to formulate an opinion, and then come back to me. Because right now, you're not acting like a David King, you're acting like a David Peasant. Seriously, how about people didn't just care that much for Randy? That's bullshit. Before you even continue your comment, that's bullshit. You're actually going to sit here and act like people didn't care about the Macho Man Randy Savage. You're out of your mind. Look, in the history of wrestling, there's almost always been two people competing to be the guy. And like, I'll give you an example. Austin and The Rock. John Cena and Randy Orton. Hell, John Cena and Batista. Macho Man and Hulk Hogan were those people. I feel like I just listened to a 12-year-old. Yeah, that's how I feel reading your comment. People didn't like Randy Savage. Yeah, no, people didn't like him. He was the second highest draw in the company at the time, but you're right. No, people didn't care about Randy Savage. No, good call. Good call. You sound like you know what you're talking about. But I realize he knew so much about 90s wrestling that I feel this is coming from his mother's basement. At the end of the video, when he begs for money, it's hilarious. Yes, it is hilarious. That part at the end where I say, hey, if you got $1 to spare, here's my link. You know, despite the fact that this is 2019 and basically every YouTuber does that, but good call. So what? Hulk Hogan was the best to ever do it, LOL. So for him to lose it should be by someone insanely great. This kid just doesn't get Hulk's character. He's legit supposed to be Superman, and Superman doesn't lose. Now to which I responded, Doomsday, Lex Luthor, Brainiac, Darkseid. Superman's lost plenty. This also has nothing to do with Hulk not losing, so maybe I'm not the one who doesn't get it. He then responds, it's funny to see all this Hogan hate online, yet before the internet, Hogan was a legend. It's funny, to be honest, how people online try to pretend that he isn't the most loved wrestler ever. Go back and watch WrestleMania 18. Years after Hogan was gone, and all of his 2002 during his comeback basically showed the fans wanted him to be on top. You're right, yes. Oliver, my man Oliver, you made some good points. Before the internet was around, everybody loved Hogan. There was not one person out there. And then this disgusting, evil, and deviant technology came into our lives, and now people are trying to ruin the reputation of one of the greatest of all time. It's not right. Oliver, you are so right. You are so right, man, and I'm with you 100% of the way. Oliver, maybe there were people who didn't like Hulk Hogan that were outside your demographic when you were a child, and maybe you didn't hear a lot of their opinions because there wasn't the internet around. The internet in which when people go to Starbucks or take a crap, they need to fucking tweet about it. Maybe that's what it is. See, me, I grew up in the 90s. Hogan was Hollywood Hogan. When I saw what he was before Hollywood Hogan, I didn't really care much for it. Wasn't a big fan. I just thought it came off as ridiculously preachy and just, I don't know, there's something that always seemed very fictitious to me about the Hulk Hogan character. The red and yellow, the yellow and red. Something about that just seemed so fake to me. And that's saying something because I was watching wrestling. But hey, that's my opinion. And that's all that it is. It's my opinion. I didn't really care for Hulk Hogan. I didn't think he had great matches. I didn't really like his promo work too much. I wasn't on board with the character. I've said several times in the past that I liked Hollywood Hogan and that I always felt that I always felt like he came off as being more genuine and real as that character. But I never liked what he did before or after it. That's just my opinion. And Oliver, if I could give you advice, you seem like you need it. In life, you're gonna have people who disagree with you. Probably a lot. If this comment section has taught me anything, probably a lot. But you know what you don't do? You don't bitch about somebody not liking the same things that you do. I mean, personally, if I did that, I wouldn't have any friends. I mean, do you know Reyes World TV, he shows up here every now and again? That guy and me, we can hardly agree on anything. He wants to claim that Batman v Superman was a good movie, and I will not have any of that. Not in my house. He wants to bring that up, I will kick him out. But I don't bitch about it. You know, sure, do I make him walk home sometimes if we're driving in the car and he wants to bring up a shitty opinion? Yeah, screw him. He can use the workout. I'm a good guy. Everyone talks shit about Hogan, but he did what he needed to do to stay on top and stay over with people. Any one of you would have done the same thing. Incorrect. Let me tell you how I know I wouldn't do the same thing. I once wrestled for I'm not going to call it a company because we didn't make any money. I'm not going to call it promotion because no one was doing any goddamn promoting. But I once wrestled in a ring. We called ourselves NLU. We were terrible. We were terrible. We were awful. Some of us were actually talented, but you know, we were diamonds in the rough at best. I lost. And I want you to keep in mind, I was the guy in charge. I was booking everything. I lost almost every single one of my matches. I won one match in my entire time there, and it was a tag team match where both me and my opponent scored a pinfall on our respective partners and opponents. And that was really just a further storyline that we got the pin at the same time, so we had to become tag team champ. That really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But my point is that not everyone would book themselves on top if they could. You know, I wouldn't. Personally, I think it's a little tacky. That's just me. Now, would you want to stay on top to get better pay? Yes, I think everybody would like to see themselves in a better position pay-wise with the company. But if you're like, oh, everyone would have booked themselves as the top guy and never put anybody over, everyone would have done that. Not true. The guy reinvented himself and took a huge risk in the mid-90s. Any politics he played couldn't and wouldn't have done shit for himself if he didn't get over with the crowd. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Hulk Hogan, I've said this before, and I know none of you heard it because apparently you guys only open your ears when I say something negative about him, so you could rush to the comment section and be like, you don't understand Hulk Hogan, yeah. Hulk Hogan, once again, I am repeating this, is the biggest name in the industry. He's the biggest name that has ever come through the door in the wrestling world. He is an icon, he is a legend, he is beyond a Hall of Famer. He doesn't get enough credit. Really?
Are you sure about that?
His long, lengthy title reigns, they don't mean anything. His Hall of Fame ring, that doesn't mean anything. The fact that he's constantly overcome, things that would completely derail and destroy others' careers just because of the star power behind it, that doesn't say enough. Hulk Hogan already has all the credit in the world. And credit to him. He stayed on top longer than anybody really should have. Like, we could talk about Ric Flair. Right? We could talk about Ric Flair. We could say Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time. He is. But Ric Flair fell into the mid-card several times in his career. Hogan went to the main event, and he never, ever left. The man was pushing 60 and 70, or however old. I don't know. He looks like he's made of leather. The man was pushing old age, right? Toward the end of his career, the man was retired. And he was still coming back for main event matches. You don't think Hulk Hogan gets enough credit? Then you don't know much about wrestling. Also, let's not forget that Hogan got Macho Man his high-paying job in WCW. They didn't want him, and WWE wanted him to stay on the broadcast team because they felt his skills had diminished, and he was too old. Hogan is very loyal to his friends, and also people who he could do business with. He deserves all the credit in the world. Hogan did get a lot of people jobs. And that was something I said in the video. I gave him that credit. What do you... Also, I think it's important to note that Hogan got people jobs that he could work with. And then, you know, because he had the power that he did, these people would be put over WCW's roster at the time. Now, you can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's kind of a shitty thing to, you know, have your entire roster who have already been there. They're the guys who are loyal to the company. They show up every day. And then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? Let's bring the Honky Tonk Man in and have him beat up Johnny B. Bad a couple times, you know? Macho Man sucked. He wrestled more like a weasel and was only about 180 pounds. Hogan didn't steal his thunder. He created it. Macho Man was never a big draw on his own. Do I even need to tell you that that's wrong? Like, can't you just hear it and know, oh, well, that sounds like bullshit. Macho Man was never a draw on his own? Macho Man. Randy Savage. You serious? Tell me you're trolling. This is a joke, right? This is a bad joke.
Say psych right now.
Macho Man. Randy Savage. Didn't draw. So, I just want to get this clear. Your idea of somebody who drew begins and ends with Hogan. Like, you go into things and you're like, well, this guy looks kind of good, but he's not Hulk Hogan, so this guy is just trash. Macho Man, once again, was the second biggest draw in the company at the time. There are plenty of people who like the Mega Powers more for Macho Man than they did for Hogan. I know this because I'm one of them. I mean, that's not even a difference of opinion. If you said, you know, I liked Hogan more than Macho Man, that's an opinion. Saying Macho Man didn't draw is not an opinion. It's a lie. It's bullshit. If I'm to be fair, it's easy to sit in a chair with mundane, irrelevant income and employment never facing such pressure to perform and face physically demanding and mentally demanding expectations in front of millions, where you rehearse multiple times trusting your opponent, an adrenaline hit, then the come down after effects, which is why so many superstar wrestlers have drug and mental issues. But hey, sat in a chair being a snidey judge on a profession that you wouldn't attend or exist in. I've attended several wrestling shows. Sometimes I've been in the ring in those wrestling shows. What does that have to do with the video? They think that they're intelligent, but clearly their brain has something else to say about that. Now, I get it if you don't understand what he's trying to say. He's basically trying to say, well, you're nothing more than a basement-dwelling mock who lives in their mother's home. You would never get into the ring and do what they do. See, here's the thing, right? I know that wrestling fans are children, or man-children, but here's the thing. You don't have to do what other people do to have an opinion on it, you know? Like, if I bit into a sandwich, I'm like, oh man, this sandwich tastes like shit. You don't get to turn around and be like, well, what would you know? You're not even a chef. Yeah, you could tell. You're just like, oh, this sandwich tastes like shit. There's a real shitty taste that came from the sandwich. It doesn't matter what my culinary background is. I still have that opinion. On top of that, yet again, this wasn't a video about me attacking Hulk Hogan. I wasn't even that mean to him. I just mentioned a bunch of things that he did. With that being said, I'm tired of talking. I'm probably going to be tired of editing this video. So, you know what? I'm just going to move on with my life. You know, until I have to come back and make the Hogan Fanmail Part 2, because that's going to be fun. So with that being said, just everyone in my comment section, please be a lot more kind and courteous and fragile to these self-proclaimed Hulkamaniacs. Because for all the vitamins they've taken and for all the prayers that they've said, apparently nothing has truly cured their paper-thin skin and glass bone.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. You're watching the Social Injustice Warrior V Infuso's channel, dude. So if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too want to become a VTard, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click that little bell icon to get updates and notifications. Ooh, tell him what up, Mach. Ooh, yeah. Follow the man on Twitter, yeah, because because we all know it's not stalking if it's on the internet. Yeah, join the madness by joining the Discord. And if you have a moment of time and a free dollar to spare, head over to the SIJW's Patreon, dig it, where you can request videos, get exclusive videos, and early access to content. Yeah. Or go down to PayPal, where you can buy the shirts, brother. But most importantly, just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.